I'm Ryan. I'm a science teacher.
I'm Cheryl, and I slept through science.
Each episode will tackle a science question you may have learned in school, but can't quite remember or fully explain.
And I'll take the risk of asking the dumb questions so that we can all understand the science we slept through.
The bell has rung. Let's get started. Welcome to lesson 24. We are in our biology unit. Cheryl, do you have another biology question?
Ryan, I have exactly one more biology question.
Ever?
No, but for this unit, I have exactly one more.
You're saying this is the end of our biology unit?
Yes, this is the last episode in
Wow.
our biology unit.
How exciting.
I'm sure we'll cover so many more biology topics in the future.
Yes, I'm sure we will as well.
But for our first biology unit, my last question has to do with my breakfast.
Oh, okay. Breakfast is my favorite meal, so I'm excited.
Yay. Breakfast, I don't know. I can't pick a favorite meal, but
Well, you just
breakfast
love all
is so
food.
good. Yes, I love food. I do love breakfast foods a lot. And I cook breakfast every morning. And most mornings that does involve some form of eggs.
Oh, okay.
Doing something with eggs, scrambling them. Maybe there's veggies, maybe there's some sausage. Maybe I'm making some tots and then putting fried eggs on top of them.
You're just
There's
getting
lots
more
of
and more
things.
excited the more you think about it, aren't you?
I just really like breakfast a lot.
Me too. I do really like it.
And one thing I like about eggs, I mean, they're delicious. They're such a good form of protein. All those wonderful things.
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting that it's a thing that comes from animals because it doesn't look like a thing that comes from an animal.
Okay.
I mean, I know that animals lay eggs, so like eggs and animals are like kind of related, but
Like kind of related, do you mean
like
that's
literally
exactly? Yeah.
related.
Okay.
But a chicken laid my breakfast and
Okay.
it didn't lay it for me to eat it.
No, it did not.
It laid it to have a baby.
Correct.
But like there weren't any baby chicks in my scrambled eggs this morning.
That's a good thing.
I mean, yeah, that would also be horrifying if like I cracked an egg open and that happened. But why don't my scrambled eggs look like baby chicks?
Okay. And I'm wondering, is the question really the scrambled part or just the eggs in general?
No, just the eggs in general.
Because I think maybe this is gross, but if there was and you scrambled it, it still wouldn't look like baby chick.
Oh no.
I mean, that's the image that I got when you said, why don't my scrambled eggs look like
Oh
baby chicks? I was
no.
like, well, because it wouldn't look that way if you scrambled them.
Oh, yikes. Okay, well, forgetting that part of the question,
Uh-huh.
just like I cracked this egg open and there's a yolk and there's a white and there's no baby chicken there.
Right. Okay. I think that's a great question. Let's launch into our pre-assessment then.
Okay.
Why do you think there's no baby chick in there?
I mean, here I am asking you this question.
Should we start broader than that?
Well, okay, I'll tell you what I know.
Okay.
Oh, this is one of those where it feels like a very short list of what I know. I know that, I mean, like everything that's needed to create a chicken life is inside of this egg because anything that's needed to create any life is in the egg, or I guess a fertilized egg. So like for a human or like for a mammal, it's not going to be like a hard shelled egg, but it still is going to be like a fertilized egg.
Okay.
So does that mean that I was about to say the boy chicken, that would be a rooster. Does that mean that the rooster just didn't fertilize these eggs? But there's a hard shell. So how could he? Anyway, he doesn't have like a syringe to come in and like add something to it, or like does it happen later? Does it start like when the chicken first lays the egg? Is there a yolk and a white in there, and then eventually it grows? like it forms into a little chick? Or is it that like something different is happening? Something different is happening, but I don't know if it's time. Like eventually that would become a baby chick.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think the ones in my fridge would eventually become a baby chick, but if somebody didn't take it out of from underneath the chicken and they let the chicken keep sitting on the egg, would that egg eventually become a baby chick? Or is there something different happening earlier in the process, later in the process? Like when in the process is something's interfering that's
Okay.
making it so that it never becomes a baby chick. But I think it has everything it needs to become one inside of that egg.
Okay. Follow-up question then.
Okay.
Where in the process do you see the rooster being involved?
Before the egg is laid,
Okay. Why did you
which
laugh
means
so hard?
because we're asking where baby chickens come from.
Yes. Well, yes.
um, because the rooster doesn't have a syringe, so
Right.
he can't really do anything to the egg after it's laid,
Okay.
which means he has to do something before. So, are all eggs that a chicken lays fertilized by a rooster, and then some of them the farmer comes and takes and does then the farmer does something different and sells them? Or can a chicken lay eggs that are not fertilized by a rooster ever? The chicken just keep they must be, because people own chickens in their yards without roosters, which makes me think that chickens can lay eggs without a rooster ever being involved, and it's just those aren't fertilized eggs, because otherwise the chicken would be asexual.
And you know that they're not?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident about it.
Okay. Okay. You look like you're still thinking.
Yeah, this is now more complicated than when I thought about it initially. So
What's more complicated about it?
just like owning a chicken and that it can lay eggs without owning a rooster.
Mm.
But then like fish eggs, I think is like the fish goes and lays the eggs, and then the boy fish comes and fertilizes the eggs after they've been laid, but those have like a soft outside. I don't know about fish in particular. I think some animals fertilize it after they've been laid. I don't think that's going to be true with a hard shell.
Okay.
I think that's going to be true with like a soft egg. But soft boiled eggs, those are good.
And we're back to the food. I think that's probably pretty good amount of information for our pre-assessment. And I'm very impressed once again with your thought process, Cheryl. Not just what you know, but also the way you reasoned through the things that you don't know.
Well, that's cool. It felt like a lot of word vomit, but I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, I think you you think through things in a logical way that I appreciate. And even if you don't know the answer, you have really good guesses. And one of the things that you do that I think is the most helpful for you when it comes to science is you're willing to question things that you originally thought.
Mm.
You're like, oh, da, da, da. Oh, wait, but with this information, does that mean that this thing maybe is different than I thought? And that's what we do in science all the time, is constantly get new information and have to be willing to revise our thinking and our understanding of the world. So look at that. You're a little scientist.
Oh my gosh. The next time I explain to a group of people who I am and what I like to do, I'm like, well, I'm a scientist because I am willing to question what I originally thought. Ooh, that's a good like interview answer, maybe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. But you have to say, I'm willing to question what I originally thought when given new data. There you go. That'll sound very
Okay, yeah.
sciencey. Yeah.
There we go. Data.
One of the first things that you said was that an egg has everything needed to create life in it.
Mhm.
And then you very quickly said fertilized, that you said the
Yeah.
egg would be fertilized.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that means that you think if an egg is unfertilized, it's not going to create life.
Correct.
Okay. And you are correct.
Yay.
Yeah. You do have to have a fertilized egg to make a new organism. That's true. Which then does mean that the eggs that you eat
Are not fertilized.
are not fertilized.
Okay.
Okay. But there's a lot of other pieces that go in with that. Couple of things that you also talked about. You said that you think the hard shell would prevent fertilization.
Yeah.
Completely accurate. Yes.
Okay, great.
You said I think the way you talked about it was a rooster doesn't have a syringe.
I mean, it's true. He doesn't. So,
It
I
is
don't know
true.
how he would get about doing that then.
That's correct. The rooster has no syringe, no way of getting any sort of genetic material through the shell. That's true. You also talked about maybe the soft eggs that are able to be fertilized external. And that's true. A lot of fish and reptiles, yes, the way that they do their fertilization is the female will lay the eggs unfertilized, and then the male will come through and release the sperm that'll just kind of go in the water to be able to fertilize those eggs. Because the advantage is then it's in the water. And so there's like a liquid for everything to go through. Yeah. Part of it is, yes, there isn't a hard shell, but those also just don't develop hard shells ever. They just stay soft shells even after they're fertilized.
Okay.
That makes sense. And I think, again, because it's in the water, that's a big contributing factor as to why. And then you also talked about how you think that the chickens lay the eggs and the rooster must be involved before that happens.
Yes.
Yes, which is also true.
Okay.
So the rooster and the hen will mate, and the rooster will release its sperm, and then that sperm kind of hangs out for a while.
Oh.
Like up to a week sometimes.
Whoa,
inside the
really?
hen.
Okay.
Sometimes. It depends. And it just kind of waits for the yolk, basically, which is the main part of the actual egg, to be released from inside the hen. Fertilization happens, and then the rest of the egg develops. And it can do that in about 1 day, in about 24 hours.
Her body is making a shell.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it is.
That sounds really uncomfortable.
I mean, I don't know that the hens know any different, but I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah. That's just weird. I hadn't thought about the part where her body produces
Makes
a
the
hard
shell.
in a day.
In a day. Yeah.
But
about
her
24
body
hours.
is going to make that shell around that yolk whether or not it's been fertilized.
Yes. That is correct. Okay. Because the hen doesn't know whether or not she's been fertilized. And since the rooster's sperm can hang out in her reproductive tract for about a week, it's not like, okay, we just reproduced and now we just mated and now I'm going to make an egg, because, there's some sort of connection there, because it could have been days before and still have fertilization and still be able to lay the eggs. The hen doesn't know the difference.
And how does the farmer know the difference?
The farmer technically doesn't know the difference, except if the farmer just wants eggs, and you alluded to this already, just don't let any roosters go near the hens.
Yeah. All right.
And then you know that no fertilization has happened and all the eggs are unfertilized.
Okay.
And there you go.
And that's why they don't look like baby chicks.
And that's basically, yes, why they don't look like baby chicks. You talked about there being something interfering with the process. And I don't know that it's, sort of interfering in that the farmer, I guess, is keeping roosters away from the hens. But there's nothing about the actual egg forming process that is interfered with at all. The other thing that I found interesting is hens typically lay about 1 egg a day, and they want to lay of like 8 to 12, and they'll just keep doing it until they have like a clutch, I think is what they call that, right? Like a big a bunch of eggs.
Well, I mean, that's how many fit in an egg carton, so that makes
Oh, yeah, there you
sense.
go.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And they'll keep laying until they have that amount. So if you take the eggs away after they've laid them, they will keep laying to try and have the right number of eggs.
Oh, that poor hen. She's just trying to get something right, and every day she's like, I swear I had enough. I still don't have enough."
What is wrong with me? I'm going crazy.
They should have put that part in Chicken Run. It would have been great.
But there you go. That's
So
the
interesting.
answer. So yeah, you were, I would say 85% of the way there already on your own in figuring out that it had to do
Wow.
with fertilization and
Yeah,
how did that work? And yeah, the eggs that we eat are not fertilized. That's why they aren't baby chicks.
there you go.
And now it's quiz time, Cheryl. Yep.
Okay.
I know it's your favorite part.
Okay. All right.
Yep. You're good.
All right.
You got it. You got it. Question number 1. Where does the eggshell come from?
The hen's body creates it.
Yep. You sounded
Okay.
unsure about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's weird, but her body makes a lot of other things too. So,
Sure. Feathers.
yeah.
I mean, my body doesn't make feathers,
Yeah.
just like it doesn't make eggs
Yeah.
or shells or anything like that. Although we have like fingernails,
That's what I was just thinking
teeth.
about. I was comparing that to like a fingernail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our bodies make weird things too. Yeah. Question number 2. Which part of an egg is the part that combines with the rooster's sperm?
The yolk,
The yolk.
the
Very
most
good.
delicious part.
False.
What's wrong with you?
I'm sensible and I know that the white is the most delicious part.
I've never heard someone say that ever.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not the yolk. I mean, I'm thinking hard-boiled egg.
Okay, what about like a fried egg with like a runny yolk?
I still wouldn't just eat the yolk
Yeah, but it's better.
than the white.
Oh, yeah.
No, if
Even
I
in a
had to,
hard-boiled egg, the yolk is
ugh.
better than the white.
Oh, no, I never eat the yolks in a hard-boiled egg. I skip the yolks. Gross.
What? Oh, wow. How
Maybe we
very
should eat.
trendy of you.
No, that's not why.
Yeah, we
Maybe
could
we should
split a
eat.
hard-boiled
Yeah,
egg.
we could have eggs together because you could have
Yes.
all the yolks and I'll have all the whites.
There we go. I love
Perfect.
it.
It's figured out. It's figured out. Okay, next question. How do you know that a rooster didn't fertilize an egg after it was laid?
I mean, crack it open, I guess, but that could be really sad. Um, your face is great right now. I mean, I don't think you do unless you're 100% sure that a rooster wasn't present. How do you know that a
After it's
rooster
laid,
didn't?
after an egg is already laid, how
Yeah.
would you know that how do you know that after an egg is laid, a rooster didn't come along and fertilize it?
Oh, because he doesn't have a syringe. Um, because it has a hard shell. There's no way he could affect what's inside the
There you
egg.
go. Yes. Sorry,
Yes.
I was unclear in my question asking.
It's all good. Sometimes teachers are wrong, you know?
Sometimes teachers are wrong. That is a true statement. That is a true statement. That is a true statement. All right, here's your last question.
Okay.
And it's actually your question. If
Okay.
a chicken lays an egg and a person doesn't take it away from the chicken, would it develop into a chick? And how do you know?
If a chicken lays an egg and the
Mhm.
person doesn't take it away, would it develop? Well, it depends on if it was fertilized or not. And you
Explain how
would
you know.
know because, like, eventually a little cute beak would like peck at the shell, and then I've only seen this in video. And then like it would crack open, and then there'd be this like cute little baby chick like cheeping and fluffy, and it would be really adorable. Or it would just be a dud And I'm assuming like a coyote would have eat it eventually. I don't really know what happens
Okay.
with those eggs that
But
don't become chicks.
it wouldn't do anything.
No,
And the reason it wouldn't do anything is,
because it wasn't fertilized.
okay, look at that. Once again, A plus, Cheryl.
Yay!
But that brings us to the end of our biology unit, and actually to the end of my notepad that I've been using. I think
Wow.
that's the last page, literally the last page.
There you
So
go.
that shows us we must be at the end. And as we did with our last unit, I'd like to do a unit reflection with you.
Okay.
I've got 3 questions. First question, what are some things that you found interesting from our unit?
Hmm. Well, biology wasn't interesting to me in school,
Okay.
but this biology unit was very interesting because I think studying life is really interesting. And so it's so cool. Like I love just learning about like the human body and how our bodies work, or like animal
Mhm.
bodies and plants and all sorts of things that we've been talking about. I find so interesting figuring out how all those things work. I think they're just things that I care to pay attention to and learn more about in my adult years that I didn't so much when I was younger, didn't really matter to me if I knew things about plants or things like that. And now I
Mhm.
just think it's fascinating how all of those things function.
Was
Yeah.
there anything in particular that stood out from this unit
I
for
mean, I
you?
liked the moments that we got to talk about penguins, so that was really cool. Um I think the I think the classification stuff was cool, which kind of came into effect in the platypus one, but then
Mhm.
also when talking about bird flight is like,
Mhm.
how do they still classify? And that was
Yeah.
really interesting, just talking about like how are different living things similar and different to each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just all the sorts of living things there are. Yeah.
Nice. Second reflection question. What were some of the things that you found challenging in this unit?
Hmm. What did I find challenging? Um, my first thought was the extra sciencey parts of it.
Okay, can you give me an
Well, it's
example?
funny because with the hot and cold unit, something I said was challenging was things about molecules, and now it
Mhm.
feels like things about cells are what are challenging. So is it just the
Mm.
microscopic things that feel
Okay.
challenging to me?
The things you can't readily see and observe.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Talking about DNA feels like there's still just a lot of question marks over
Mhm.
that whole thing because we like barely scratched the surface
Yep.
when we were talking about eye color.
Mhm.
Um, and that just makes no sense to me. So I'm excited someday to talk about DNA more.
Okay.
Um, I was just like, okay, I believe you, and I believe that these parts are true that we've talked about, but like, don't know why at
Yeah.
all. So, yeah.
Okay. That's reasonable. Last reflection question. What concepts do you think you might remember or that might stick with you?
Ooh. Um, definitely that blue eyes are only blue because of lack of pigment. That is
Mm,
so interesting
mhm.
to me that like I thought it was color,
Right.
like anything else in the world has color. Well, oh yeah, just open up that can of worms. And it was so interesting just seeing like, oh, that's just the lack of something. That's all it is. And then it just
Yeah.
appears blue. So that was really interesting.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
just throw one more wrench in the
Oh
works
boy.
there for you and just say that blue is a relatively rare color in nature. It obviously does appear, but it is a lot rarer than a lot of other colors,
Mm.
especially a blue pigment. And a number of the things that we see as blue are like eyes, where it's not actually a pigment, but there is something else, something physical often that makes them look blue.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that brings us to the end of our biology unit. So we've done hot and cold, we've done biology. Who knows what exciting unit we'll get to do next?
Yay.
But that's all the time we have for this lesson and for this unit. So why don't you go ahead and pack up your stuff and get ready for my closing remarks. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Slept Through Science, or on Twitter at Slept Science.
If you have dumb science questions like I do, please send them to us. You can email us at isleptthroughscience@gmail.com, or you can even send us a voice memo and we'll play it on the podcast.
Please rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about our podcast on social media.
Thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.
The bell doesn't dismiss you. I dismiss you.